Chief Obinna Oriaku. Good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us this morning on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions on Flow FM.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. Interestingly, do we have something to celebrate from the angle of the economy as a financial expert? 61 years of independence.
Well, it's a sort of mixed feeling. This is one of our lowest ebb when it comes to our economic growth or the current state of our economy. Is nothing to cheer about. And then, however, it's still not beyond what can be redeemed. There are still one or two things that needs to be done so that the economy can jumpstart back to its feet. We are out of recession. We grew our GDP with about 5.1% the last time. That was the last quarter. But the important thing is that there are a whole lot, especially as it affects the cost of goods in the market, is beyond the reach of the average Nigerian. And the current state of our naira is what is not helping the matter at all. Things need to be done and done urgently before our naira gets to the level of Zimbabwean dollar.
Okay, should we blame the present administration because that has been looked from with the spectacles of politics? Jonathan's government, Buhari's government. You won't blame people because the comparison is very clear. Looking at how much a bag of rice was sold back then and how much it is sold today. How much was a dollar to naira then and how much is a dollar to naira today? If you look at that with such spectacles, will you blame this present administration for not doing much to rejig our economy and make it one of the best in the world?
Well, there were some policy issues that impacted negatively on our economy. Some are still there. Some decisions were taken late. Some decisions are yet to be taken that will enable us come out of the woods. When it comes to, you talked about rice. Well, Jonathan administration started the focus on agriculture to stop our reliance on imported food and all whatnot. Of course, rice, which was our major staple, or which is still our major staple food in the country, took a center stage, and efforts were made to encourage people back to rice farming. That started yielding dividends. However, the decision to ban the importation of rice completely is what gave rise to the high rise of rice. Because today we cannot, in all honesty, say that we are producing what we can consume or what is enough for us. So that is why the cost of rice is still very high. However, the major issue that is glaring on our face today is the issue of oil subsidy, fuel subsidy. Today, as at September, we've spent about 905 billion on subsidy. Now, we've also spent about 2.3 trillion importing fuel just this year. These things are avoidable. Now, today, the landing cost of petrol, what we call the AGO, the one we call fuel, is about 312 naira. And we are selling at, people are still buying at 160 or 125 naira per liter. So it tells you a lot. And today, oil is averaging $80 per barrel. We hope it will be ending the year with about $100 per barrel. Now, the implication is that the subsidy is going to go deeper, because the more the price goes up in international market, the more Nigerian open this armpit to accommodate those high costs, so that we continue buying fuel at 160 or 165. It is not sustainable. We need to tell ourselves the truth. Now, what I had expected the federal government to do was to remove this subsidy, so that we suffer for once. We suffer it once, and now the impact of the removal will now be felt. This 905 billion will be channeled towards other viable things that will help bring down and add value to the economy. So the delay is not helping us, and it's possible that it's not sustainable, and it's a journey we must all agree to back on. which is removal of that fuel subsidy, so that the pressure on naira will be reduced. Now, currently, there are some things the federal government is doing that in the long run will impact on the cost of fuel. Today, the modular refinery in Owerri has taken off. If you listen to the president's address, then you also heard that one is taken off in Edo, another one in Bayelsa. And then when you also look at the mega refinery by Dangote coming upstream by end of the end of the quarter of this year, it tells you that very soon our reliance on imported fuel will be at least very, very reduced if we must continue in that trajectory. However, these things take time. But I must tell you that the economy is not where it should be. It's fighting hard. It's beyond party affiliation. We must tell ourselves the truth about that.
Okay, you're suggesting that we should remove subsidy. We're spending about 905 billion naira, and if that is injected to the economy, it will do well. Now, Nigerians are skeptical about this. The sincerity of the political class. If you remove subsidy, that amount we spend on subsidy we might end up finding it in pockets of this political class. It might not be injected into the right areas in the economy to boost the same economy we're fighting for. That's number one. Then two, Nigerians are also skeptical about this, beyond the sincerity of the government, how much we will be buying fuel, the resultant effect to the poor masses, which will affect all sectors. You know how the increase in the price of fuel will affect all sectors. So how long are we going to wait if the federal government finally stops subsidy payment on the landing cost of fuel?
Well, that has always been the argument that the common man will feel the impact heavily. But unfortunately, the kerosene that we use in our villages, that one is not subsidized. The diesel that is also used to fuel some of the haulage trucks that haul these food items from north, from south, down to the market. There's no subsidy in diesel. The subsidy only exists in fuel. And fuel is majorly consumed by the big men who have over 6 cars, 7 cars in their garages. So now what we are saying is that already the impact of that removal is being felt already. It's assumed to be, based on the current trajectory of the economy, it's assumed the subsidy has been removed because already the prices of goods and services in the market have all gone up. And it went up because of the pressure on naira. And that pressure on naira will be reduced because if you look at the quantum amount we use in importing fuel or subsidizing, the pressure will be reduced when we remove that subsidy. When we remove subsidy, NNPC will not be the sole importer of petrol. Now, it will not be a factor of demand and supply. So you find a situation where we will, of course, remove what they call bridging finance, where we also spend so much money for moving fuel from here to Boronu or to Medugri. It means also now that the cost of fuel in Sokoto will be different from the cost of fuel in Lagos because transport is now factored in. You don't need to haul the fuel. The cost of hauling from here to Boronu will be borne by the man in Boronu.
Then it means PPPRA will not fix a price for fuel again.
Definitely, even with the PIA that has been passed, once they're all implemented, all these things gradually will fall in line. That's why I'm telling you that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's biting hard now, and there are some strategic things we need to do now, so that in the next 4 months, in the next 5 months, we'll start feeling the impact of some of these positive decisions that have been taken, like the PIB Act that has just been passed. PIA.
I want you to look at the issue of economy from your area, from your point of view as a financial expert, looking at the budget report released a few days ago, the Independence Day edition, States Performance on Index A, and it was noted that only a few states can comparatively have limited dependence on federal distributed revenue. Lagos, Rivers, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Cross River, while states like Jigawa, Delta, Benue, shockingly Delta on that list, and Bayelsa even on the 36th. Now, some critics and some handlers of the federal government, they've come out to say, you heap so much blame on the federal government. Why not look at what the states are doing? We pay allocation every week, every month. We don't default in allocation. I don't know what you make of these indices.
Well, that report has been trending lately, and of course, we don't fault that agency. It's one of the most credible rating agencies we have in the country. There are some new entrants into that league. Cross River and Ebonyi, making the top 5 states that can survive without looking at Abuja is very interesting, and is also very encouraging. It tells you that no matter your situation, you can deliberately take decisions home that can impact positively on the lives of your people. Take River State, for example. Now, I'm sure you said it's shocking that Delta and Bayelsa featured among the states that rely solely on Abuja for sustenance. It tells you that beyond oil, there are people who are also doing something differently to take their state to the next level. Rivers IGL grew from about 8 billion to about 15 billion monthly. And it's all about leadership. It's all about the political will. Of course, we know the way the governor behaves. Even if you dined with him and slept with him in the night, the next morning, if you are supposed to pay your bills, you must pay it. So it's still the same thing we are talking about. The same with Ebonyi. If you have any brother or any friend who is into quarry business in Ebonyi, they'll tell you what they are passing through. Yeah, it may not sound nice, but because we know that nobody pays tax smiling. But we have seen people. We have also we have the same quarry Ebonyi, which is their major contributor to the IGR beyond the taxes they collect on other areas. The major independent revenue of Ebonyi is the taxes they collect from the quarry. It has been so automated that they stay in the office and know the number of tons you crush in a day. But we still have such mineral deposits in Abia. Go to Umunochi, go to Uturu, you see all those quarry plants. What have we done with it as a people? We use it to settle some political people, either because they gave us the highest number of votes, or even the local government will insist, or even the natives will insist that the state cannot come and take charge of those things. So these are things we need to sit down and tell ourselves the truth. So there are states that are not majorly oil producing states that still in our backyard that can survive. Look at Cross River. They've been able to show that they can do better than other states. But most importantly is that if you look at that report, you find out that 60% of their entire revenue, entire receivables, goes into capital expenditure.
All right.
Now, if you go through that report, I've gone through it. You go to Ebonyi, I think it's about 72% of their total receipts goes into capital expenditure. The same with River State. The same with Kaduna State. Of course, Lagos, all of us are aware of that. So what it tells you too is that the more you engage in this capital expenditure, the more you provide a conducive environment for investors to come in, the more you attract them, the more you add value to the economy of the state. And of course, the more people are willing to pay tax. You can't go to, for example, today, there are some areas you can't go to enforce tax payment because there's even no access road to such areas. So these things don't hide, they all add up. So what I'm saying is that yes, we are happy that beyond oil, a state like Akwa Ibom, a state like Ebonyi can feature among the states. Even Anambra can feature among the states that can survive with their IGR. And if you look at that report again, they'll tell you the potentials we have in Abia. And it's all about our decision to get it right.
So
and,
you're saying it's about
sure
political will. If we anchor the conversation and anchor it in Abia State, you're saying it's about the political will of the political class.
Beautiful. It's not only about it's not about the governor alone. If you go to Ebonyi, I have a friend that has a quarry there. If the state government shuts it down, and you call the governor's brother, who used to be the PDP zonal chairman, he will tell you to go and pay. He will not remember how you supported during the election. He will not remember how the two of you are from the same village.
All right.
But that is not the situation in our place.
All right.
You shut down something, you tell people to go and pay. They tell you how they funded the election, or how they fed you when you had no money, when you were using a Tokumbo vehicle. Those things cannot help our state. We need to take those hard decisions, and everybody must be on the same page to get Abia back on running.
All right, Chief Obinna Oriaku, I want to really appreciate you. We need to take calls now, but we're definitely going to engage you some other time on this report, the budget report anniversary edition, fiscal options for better building, for building back better states of states, definitely, so that you break it down to us and what we can do as we find solutions to some of these issues in the nearest future. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on the platform.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.